Thank you for joining for this episode of the TechSpective podcast. My guest this week is Tim Ip from Adobe. So Tim, if you could go ahead, give a little bit of background on yourself.
Hey, hello everybody. My name is Tim, and I joined Adobe around 1 year ago. So I mainly focusing on forensics, incident response here. So my past background is focusing on security monitoring, automations, incident response, some red teaming, purple teaming. But recently, after I joined Adobe, I'm focusing on leading the forensics automations here, and flesh out the process, doing all kinds of incident response. Yeah, I like automation, so I'm happy to join Adobe and.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is awesome, and the reason I have you on is to talk about exactly that is the automation, excuse me, the automation of the forensic analysis that you guys have implemented at Adobe. So I guess let's start with just kind of describe for me what it is, like how have you automated the forensic analysis sort of pipeline?
Yeah, so basically for forensics, we have three main parts. The forensics VM, so we have forensics lab set up, and then data acquisition and incident triage. So before I joined Adobe, our forensics methodology is very manual. So, and also, in last few years, there are a lot of change in the security landscape, and also there are a lot of new cloud technologies, and our existing forensics methodology is no longer scalable and not capable to the new technology. So after I joined Adobe, I revamp the whole process, adding automations, update our forensics approach process, make sure our methodology capable to handle most of the case. And Adobe is a big company. We are growing, and we have new servers, and I hope our automation will adapt to new technology and make our job easily. Yep.
Okay. Well, okay. So like you said, Adobe is a large company, and
Yep.
It's a global company. And as I understand it, so the previous system, aside from being much more manual, was also somewhat centralized. Like no matter where the incident happened in the world,
Yep.
Forensic artifacts and evidence had to somehow make their way to San Jose or whatever,
Yep.
so that the forensic analysis could be done. So. I guess before we get into sort of like how you've fixed it, what are some of the challenges of that system, of the old system, in terms of kind of incident response speed and timing? Like how quickly can you respond when you have to ship everything to a central location, and also I imagine, and maybe I'm wrong, but I imagine there's also some challenges with the integrity of forensic evidence, that if I have to get it from point A to point B, how do I ensure that it's still valid?
Yeah. So, Adobe is a big company. So we have servers globally. We have infrastructure in many countries. And in case there is an incident happened in a foreign country like Europe or like other countries, Asia, then we have in our old practice, we have our own lab in San Jose office. So every time when there is an incident overseas, we need to transfer. We need to do a data acquisition. We need to transfer a large amount of data from overseas back to San Jose office, which is very time consuming. And so, in last few years, our server getting bigger and bigger, and So sometimes the server maybe has 64 gigabytes memory or terabyte of storage. You make the transfer very slow, and it actually slow down our forensics process. It may take days in order to get all the data to our labs. And we start thinking about this as a big problem because, the incident happened very fast, it's fast changing. So we need to act very fast. We need to get, the visibility around this incident very fast and identify the scoping and take action on this. And so one of the things we did is we try to set up a lab on cloud, and that lab is located in everywhere. So we set up the labs ad hoc. For example, there is an incident in Europe. We set up the lab in Europe actively ad hoc. So we can have a lab being set up in 20 minutes. We can do a very fast data acquisition because both the victim machine and the forensics lab are located in the same geolocation. So we just do all kinds of acquisition over there. So we don't have to transfer the data back to San Jose labs. Okay. In terms of integrity, so most of our tasks previously, most of our data acquisition, we rely on the system engineer. They help us to do it, but most of the time they are not very familiar with the process. So they make mistakes. So we want to automate this part also. So we have automations to automate, for example, we have a script to talk to different cloud service provider, and also our EDR, so that we can do data acquisition by ourselves instead of relying on the system engineer. So yeah, we can do it by ourselves. It's much more faster. We don't have a back and forth between the system engineer, and also because we have the automation here, it minimizes the human mistake and maintain the integrity of the data evidence.
Okay. Well, and one of the other things that I had forgotten about is I imagine we have things like GDPR, or there are also just nation by nation rules about what you can't take our data out of this country, those kind of things, which I imagine with the previous system sometimes could pose an issue. Like if if an incident happens in Thailand, and there's a rule that says that you can't export the data or remove customer data or whatever from Thailand, but you're trying to do forensic analysis in San Jose.
Yeah, so Adobe is a global company, so we need to comply to different privacy law restriction in different countries. So such as the GDPR, CCPA. So when we do forensics, sometimes we need to capture this image, and this image contains some PII. So in case there is an incident in Europe, we want to do the forensics by using the old methodology. We need to transfer the data out from Europe back to our San Jose office, which violate the GDPR because we transferred the PII out of Europe to the US. So actually, our automation also resolved this problem. So our automation is spin up the forensics lab or forensics VM actually links to the victim machine. So if in case there is an incident happened in UK, we spin up the forensics VM in same geographic location. So the data is stay within that region. We do all kinds of analytics in that region. So yeah, basically we resolve the compliance issue.
Okay. Okay. So we've gone from manual. Now we've got, we've added automation. We're running this in the cloud, which awesome, because it addresses the issues that you just described. That you described in terms of speed and integrity and in compliance. So, with I lost my train of thought. I guess, so talk to me about the, I guess, kind of the architecture that you've adopted for this, and I'm also kind of curious, do you know of anyone else that has taken this approach? I mean, because I have not personally heard of it, but I'm, since you work in forensics, I'm curious if you know of, was this a novel concept, or is there someone else that's also, taking a similar approach in terms of, trying to do forensics in the cloud like this?
Yeah, so from understanding, there are a couple of open source projects available on the internet, but most of the projects are not well maintained. And also most of the projects just focusing on a small area. For example, just setting up some forensics toolkits in a bare metal box or inside a VM. So for our approach is not only just setting up the software, but also we spin up the whole infrastructure, including all kinds of cloud environment, software, the forensics directory, the file structure we need, and we make sure our infrastructure are secure. So our automation also secure the environment, the forensics lab. So we want to provide not only functional forensics environment, but also in a very secure, very user-friendly, streamlined process. And because actually I developed this for Adobe, so the current solution is very well integrated within our process and our Adobe infrastructure. So I think it's much more robust, and the coverage is much more better than the existing solution on the internet.
So, okay. So was there anything, I mean, you joined Adobe about a year ago, so that might be the answer to my question. But is there anything that has changed within Adobe that has, made this possible now? Like why implement this now, and why couldn't you have done it, say, 3 years ago?
Yeah, I joined Adobe 1 year ago. So I actually, after I just joined, I looked into the existing forensics methodology, and because in my past company, I learned a lot about the Terraform, Ansible. So basically, I'm very familiar with the new technology. So again, actually, I think there are 3 main components: PPT, people, process, and technology. In terms of technology, we have new technologies such as the Terraform, Ansible. Those are infrastructure as code, so it helps us to enable our automations. For people, I just joined Adobe 1 year ago, so I'm very familiar with this kind of technology. So I'm happy to apply this technology and leverage my skill, apply my knowledge into big companies. And yeah, in terms of process, actually I take this opportunity not only create this automation, but also revamp our process. We fully integrate our forensics lab or forensics VM into our process. So we have people supporting this solution. We have a good technology to automate this, and we have a good process. Hey, how we operate this automation?
Okay. You alluded to this earlier, but one of the things that I think bears kind of repeating and stressing is automation also gives you some degree of consistency, in that, with a manual process, the evidence collection and the just the whole process is might vary from one incident to the next in terms of like how people execute it and what information is gathered and those types of things. But the more it's automated, the more you have a consistent perspective on, okay, we always get this information and we can analyze this information the same way. So you have some level of consistency there. So can you walk me through kind of, what is the automation process? Like what triggers a forensic investigation, and then what steps occur, and what's the output to you or to, whoever?
Yeah, so we have basically 3 parts, the forensics lab or VMs, the data acquisition, and also the incident triage. So for the forensics VM, we use Terraform Ansible to spin up the environment, to spin up the forensics lab. In case we have a security incident, the incident responder just trigger one command, and the environment will be ready in 20 minutes. And so so the incident responder maybe within this 20 minutes, they can handle other things, other important critical things. The environment being set up is secure, and also we have a bunch of forensics toolkit being installed on the forensics VM. Some of them are open source, some of them are commercial, some of them are in-house development script. So all these kind of toolkits help us to streamline the forensics process. The second thing is the data acquisition. We have Python script to talk to other cloud, most of the different cloud service provider API, and also our EDR. So it helps us to automate the data acquisition, no longer rely on the system engineer to handle all the things. The third one is the incident triage. So we have script sit on top of different security toolkits. So instead of incident responder sitting in front of a computer, wait the forensics tools to send back the result, and also typing a very, very long commands, they just leveraging the script to do some basic triage, and so they can get back the result very fast, and they don't need to wait, and they just maybe focusing on other areas and just using our the triage script. They can just trigger it and return the result.
Okay, so are there I guess this is kind of a two-part question. Are there any elements of the output or actions taken that are automated in like a SOAR sense? But then my other question is, at what stage or in what instances does this then get escalated to a human security analyst? At what point is a human involved to look at the triaged information and do something?
Yeah, so if you if you take a look on the whole security incident handling process, actually each incident response phase actually requires certain degree of human intervention. So the automation I'm talking about here is mainly on helping the security incident responder security responder to handle the tedious things, so they no need to handle the tedious thing. They can focusing on some important tasks, critical tasks, such as coordinate with the system engineer, communicate with the management. So the incident responder no need to focusing on tedious things. They just trigger a command and let it go. They can focusing on critical part, such as communication, coordination.
Okay, that makes sense. So you've been there a year, so this is still relatively new.
Yeah.
Are there issues or challenges that you've encountered, with this, doing forensics in the cloud approach? Are there any things that you maybe hadn't considered, or issues that you've identified that you still need to kind of address and solve for?
Yeah. So again, Adobe is a big company. We have so many servers. So our automation doesn't cover everything at this moment. Doesn't cover everything. But we want to make our automation account agnostic. So there are too many technology environment within Adobe. So we are trying our best to expand our automation to everywhere. And also Adobe is growing. So every time when we have a new service, then we need to update our automations and make our automation also cover those new technology. And
okay. All right. I mean, I guess my as we sort of wrap up, I guess my other question, my final question would be for another organization out there that in the same boat. Now, granted, not everyone's in the same boat, because it is somewhat a function of the size of Adobe. I mean, if you're a smaller company and you just have the one site, you don't really need to do something like this. But for a larger company that has multiple sites across the country or multiple sites around the world, where you have incidents that are occurring all the time, and you have to figure out how to do this incident response, do you have any advice, tips, like something they should absolutely do or something they should absolutely avoid doing?
Yeah. So some company like Adobe, a global company, so they have servers infrastructure all around the world. So traditionally, forensics is a very long process. So traditionally, the forensics is only we just do it on maybe the laptop or maybe a server. So we have resources everywhere. So we need to create a forensics environment. I'm not saying everywhere, but you're able to spin up the labs ad hoc, maybe in a country or in a dedicated environment. So you can perform the forensics anywhere. So not only the security incident happen very fast, and we need to have an environment very quickly, so that the incident responder can take action, gain visibility quickly, and identify the scope, remediations, and all kinds of things. And everything is happen very fast, and without automations, and actually cannot handle the nowadays security incident, and the speed is so fast. At the same time, forensics, we need to act very fast in order to catch up the attacker. And
yep, that makes sense. All right. Well, I want to thank you for joining me, Tim, and sharing this. I mean, this, and we did the last podcast with Adobe as well, and there's a lot of I think great innovations going on in Adobe, and again, I think a lot of it has value and bearing for any company, and some of it is somewhat more unique to a larger company. But I appreciate you joining me to share what you're working on.
Yeah, thanks for having me here.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate you investing your time to listen to the podcast, but I also invite you to engage on social media. Please go like our Facebook page and follow at TechSpective on Twitter and Instagram. You can feel free to let me know what you like, let me know what you don't like, let me know if you love it, let me know if it sucks. and let me know what products you'd like to see reviewed or what questions you'd like to see answered in future posts.